interest rates in banks are extremely low. They're virtually basically 0%. And the government has done this to push the state-owned banks to loan money to state-owned enterprises at below an inflation rate. So lots of money going out, and that many people say is hurting everyday Chinese, because where do they put their money? So they're actually not putting it so much in banks. They're actually not putting it so much in the equity markets. It's all into real estate. These empty apartments might mean a misallocation of resources, but it doesn't mean a bubble, because people, like you said, are putting it 100% down, or they're not taking out much leverage. You know, you have to put down 20, 30% down for your first home, depending in cash. You can't even buy a third home in Shanghai right now. It's been blocked for years. So there's actually very little debt on the residential side. For these types of older consumers, again, born, say, in the 40s, they missed out on the great economic boom of the last 30 years. So they're petrified. They're very conservative. They're worried about soaring medical care costs, about soaring real estate costs. So they don't spend any money. They're basically a lost generation. Okay, and for you guys as marketers or product design, you have to think of them as a lost generation. They're almost never making their own decisions when it comes to buying anything useful. Okay? Now, will this change? Not anytime soon. But let's dig deeper. Let's look at younger Chinese. Chinese under the age of 32. What do you think their spending habits, savings are like? Their effective savings rate was 0. They're going out and buying now. So if you take a look at it, credit cards went from 13.5 million credit cards in 2005 to 280 million last year. These younger Chinese consumers, and this is where you need to really think about targeting, are extremely optimistic. They've been getting 20, 30, 40, 50% salary increases year on year. But what this means is that you don't have high savings rates. So for marketers, you need to think about who do you target. And these younger Chinese are very optimistic. They're trying to get rich. They're trying to show status. They're trying to show their sophistication. A lot of people are excited about the middle class, and they say there's 350 million people here. Let's target the middle class. There really isn't middle class in the American or the European sense. Look at consumption patterns. It's kind of like an hourglass shape. Okay? People are going at the top of that hourglass, which means value. Okay? That could be different things for different types of groups, but it's been the same for 15 years. So for ultra wealthy people, we've interviewed 36 people worth 10 million US more investable assets. They tell us they don't want Louis Vuitton anymore. It's too common. Everybody has it. They now want Chanel. They want Bottega Veneta. They want Hermes. And for the truly wealthy, they don't care about logos. They're looking more for their personal indulgence, more of an experience and a lifestyle. All different level of a consumer, whether it's rich, medium, poor, they're looking for that high value brand. Okay? They're trying to get, for maybe the middle class, they're looking for that Louis Vuitton bag because they want to have sophistication and show the world. It could be people are willing to spend more on food products because they're so scared about food safety here. So at the high end, it's about value. And it has always been about value. One of the problems with Walmart is they position themselves as everyday low prices. But if you are cheap and don't have money, you don't shop at Walmart. You shop at one of the wet markets on the street because there's always cheaper than a Western brand. While if you have money, you are going to Walmart because you trusted the brand. You know, we interviewed a lot of consumers and they told us, yeah, we go to Walmart because we think they won't cut corners in the supply chain. They'll only choose good brands. They won't put in counterfeit or fake products on the aisles. And so they kept going to Walmart. The problem is Walmart keeps screwing up on their brand image. And they keep saying everyday low prices. So they have bad quality lighting. It's not a nice design. So they're pushing away the wealthy Chinese. And so what's happening is the wealthy Chinese are going to very high-end supermarkets. Very nice, extraordinarily expensive, but they're packed. Because if you have money here, you have money. When it comes to your product design, you want to be creating trust, safety, non-toxicity, and it's the top of that hourglass shape. Now the second area, the bottom of the hourglass, which is where people shop a lot. Those are price-sensitive plays. Okay? That's when consumers say, this category is not something that means a lot to me. Okay? So I'm not going to spend a lot of money here. And those types of brands do very well. That could be like Anta, which is an apparel company. It could be Home Inns, which is a cheap hotel chain. These are brands that will always do well in terms of revenue because people will always buy it because it's the cheap alternative. But the problem with these brands, and if you guys are the advertisers, marketers yourselves, is there's no loyalty. Okay? If the price gets too high, people will stop buying. As a marketer, you want to be at the top of the hourglass. Or you can be at the bottom, but you're going to get killed ultimately. But the absolute worst place to be is that middle of the hourglass. These are brands that position themselves as middle class. People are either buying cheap or they're going up and buying expensive. You don't have that mid-range. Consumption is real here. Okay, retail sales are growing. Last month it was only 14.2%, but overall it's been growing about 15% a year for the last 5 years. Consumers are still very confident. Consumption is absolutely happening. Numbers are absolutely happening. But the reality is there will probably be more losers than winners when it comes to trying to sell here. Because so many brands are just throwing money in and they're not thinking about what are really, how do we create that emotional connection with consumers? What's that right price point? What's that right image? Too many are going in the middle class level. Too many are using the wrong image. So some of the myths that we broke down is that Chinese are not high savings, okay, all the way through. Younger consumers, which is where your real target market should be, tend to be much more aspirational. They're looking for value in what they buy. They're not so price sensitive. And so when you're looking at how to sell, you need to be targeting younger consumers, female consumers, and creating trust about safety, non-toxicity, premium with them. And the market is going to continue to grow to do that. But if you don't get that right, you're going to end up failing. You really need to be branding yourself at that high end of that hourglass, creating that connection, creating that loyalty. And if you can't operate there, you probably shouldn't even try to be in China.